The biggest merger of municipal electricity utilities in Canadian history, affecting nearly 1 million customers, is now official. The new company puts together 4 local electricity distributors and will be responsible for providing a quarter of all the province's electricity consumption and getting it reliably to homes all over southern Ontario. The new company has been renamed Alectra, and its president and CEO, Brian Bentz, joins us now for more. It's good to meet you.
Good to meet you.
Thanks for coming into TVO. Let's just do some of the basics here. If we could bring this up, please. Alectra merges 3 local distribution companies, that's LDCs, EnerSource, Horizon Utilities, and PowerStream. And then that group is buying Hydro One Brampton, so 4 companies altogether. It will operate in 15 communities, and here's a bit of a list: Alliston, Aurora, Barrie, Beaton, Brampton, Bradford, Hamilton, Markham, Mississauga, Penetanguishene, Richmond Hill, St. Catharines, Thornton, Tottenham, and Vaughan. That's almost, add it all up, 1 million customers. It will become the second biggest municipally owned electric utility in North America, Los Angeles being number 1, and economies of scale should eventually save consumers $40 a year down the road. Okay, let's get into this, Brian. The name Alectra, where'd that come from?
Well, as a result of an extensive search that we did as an organization over the past year, and we wanted a name that was denoted energy. And actually the name means in Greek illuminance or brilliance or brightness. And we thought that fit really well.
Why does it make sense to bring these 4 disparate companies all under one roof?
The energy sector is changing. It's undergoing significant transformational change. Utilities need to reposition themselves. They need to find scale in order to drive economies, to lower rates for consumers. They also need to reposition themselves to ensure that in this time of changing energy landscape, we are innovative. We have the scale to innovate. We can specialize. We're a partner for larger entities in the new delivery system for power. And so it was very consistent, actually, with the recommendations of the Premier's Advisory Council on Government Assets, the Clark Report.
Okay, lots to pick apart there, yes. So let me start to get into that. In terms of the customers, we hear all the time that, economies of scale will give us savings, and I don't have to tell you how cynical and skeptical people are about the electricity sector right now. So, how sure are you really that down the road people are going to see savings?
We're very confident. We did a lot of work in our business case right up front. We spent a lot of time on this. We have utilities who are incumbent utilities in this organization that have delivered savings for customers before. And we know that we can achieve approximately 15 to 17% reduction in consolidated operating costs, which flow through to shareholders in the form of higher dividends, in this case almost $500 million, and flow through to consumers in the form of rate relief, in this case almost $1 billion, 2 to 1 in favor of consumers versus our municipal shareholders. But the money from the municipal shareholders will be reinvested back into the communities we serve.
And let's just clarify, when you say municipal shareholders, this is a publicly owned company still. This is not a privately held company.
This is a publicly owned company, other than 3% is held by Borealis Corporation, which is the OMERS pension fund.
Gotcha. Can you give us, again, going back to that answer you gave a moment ago, you said a bigger company with more scale will have better opportunities to innovate.
Right.
People watching us right now may not understand what innovation in the electricity sector looks like. So give us a sense about what that will enable you to do that you couldn't before as 4 companies.
There's lots of things that's going on in the sector. Technological advancement in this sector is unprecedented in the last decade. One of the things that we focused in on as utilities, our incumbent utilities, was really the advancement of technology to improve reliability. We've looked at, for example, utility-grade microgrid, which is a really interesting concept.
What does that mean?
It means that you take a very large battery and you put it into a pole line, a feeder, that feeds a remote community. And that pole line is typically fed from Hydro One. And if you put a battery on that line and you put a communication and control system with the municipal substation that is feeding that community, you can enhance the reliability of that feeder, and you can charge that battery when rates are low and you can discharge it when rates are higher.
And that is something that is easier to do as a bigger merged company than before.
So, for example, we've partnered with Korean Electric Power on that technology, global utility.
Okay, let's talk about, I think everybody remembers it was, what, about 4 years ago when this province got whacked with a pretty serious ice storm. And, you know, for lots of people, the lights went out for quite a long time, heating as well. I think, well, the number I've got here is 830,000 hydro customers left in the dark. Would a newly merged Alectra be able to better respond to that kind of a situation were it to happen again?
Absolutely. In terms of the investment in things like the smart grid that improves the restoration, we had almost 100,000 customers out in the service area that we served in York Region, so 1/8 of that number you just quoted. And for us, the restoration efforts were really a function of marshalling crews from neighboring utilities and doing that in a coordinated fashion. We can improve the coordination immensely when we have the workforces that serve 1 million customers versus one that serves, say, 250,000 customers.
Okay. Let's, I want to get some better understanding as well of who your shareholders are. So go through the list if you would.
Okay.
Who owns Alectra?
Who owns Alectra is the City of Mississauga. And we have 2 municipalities in York Region, the City of Markham, the City of Vaughan. We also have in Simcoe County, the City of Barrie, and in Hamilton, Niagara Region, the City of Hamilton and the City of St. Catharines. So now, 6 municipal shareholders.
6 municipal shareholders. So I'm going to infer that there will be either mayors and or city councillors who are going to be members of your board then?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Look, I've covered politics a long time. My understanding of the game is that 6 different politicians from 6 different municipalities often can't agree that the sky is blue, let alone on, you know, what approach a new electricity company ought to take. Does that daunt you at all?
They agreed on the fact that this was a good deal, that this was a good deal for their communities, that would serve their communities well, provide them with rate relief. They recognize that the sector is changing. They recognize that they need to deliver value. Consumers want more value. And increase the value proposition and give consumers more choice. And having that connection with our shareholders and the leadership of our shareholders has been, I think, really helpful in the transformation and creation of Alectra.
You say they unanimously came together and agreed on this, which is true, but in Markham, just north of the studio, it passed by 1 vote.
That's right.
Passed council by 1 vote. Were there numerous times during the course of this where you thought, this is not going to get done?
Well, I always kept the faith because I believed in the deal. I believed in the people. I believed in the deal. I thought it was the right thing to do. We kept driving through. I understand that, there's an accountability to the communities we serve. They have to ask the right questions. I think in our case, they're very satisfied with the utility that they had. But in the end, it worked out, I think, the right way.
Well, here's what the Deputy Mayor of Markham, Jack Heath, said back in the day. He said, "From what I have learned, this is a huge and confusing deal, and I don't think it brings enough benefit for the citizens of Markham." Now, admittedly, he said that more than a year ago. Right. Have you been able to convince him of the error of his ways since then?
I'm going to continue to convince him that this was the right deal.
So he's not there yet?
Well, he's on his way.
He's on his way. Is there, well, I mean, I gather part of the concern among these municipalities, who are, of course, local councillors and very attuned to local interests, that they will have less say in a bigger merged company than they would have in a smaller, very localized company. Yeah. How do you sort of convince them that that's something they ought not to worry about?
I think part of the business model that we're trying to develop is one that, even though we have scale, and we want to drive innovation and specialization and all of those things, we don't want to lose our community roots. It's really important that we stay focused and really be part of the communities we serve. So maintaining that connection with the municipal councils and the local communities is going to be something I'm going to be very much focused on in the coming years.
I don't have to tell you that one of the biggest distribution companies in the world, Hydro One, is in the process of a partial privatization right now. The Ontario government, I think, ultimately will sell off 60% of it to the private sector.
Right.
Any thoughts of going along that road for your company?
For us, I mean, we want to grow. We want to make sure that we have access to capital. We have a growing demographic. We have opportunities to invest in non-regulated type businesses. So we want to make sure that we do have the balance sheet that will allow us to grow. We want to do that in a way that's responsible, and we think that we can do that with our municipal shareholders.
So that sounds like a no to privatization for now.
No, that's right.
It's a no for now.
Yes. Yeah.
Do you plan to buy up other local distribution companies?
That's been the history of our utilities. As you can see, we're the product of consolidation of a lot of different utilities. We think we have a very good model and a good story to tell. As you said, the Clark panel did say that we a catalyst for consolidation, a champion for consolidation. We are interested in increasing scale, geography.
So that sounds like a yes.
Yes.
You're on the. Want to tell us what the next target is?
No, we've got to digest this one first. But
before you start buying up anybody else.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. You have a 13-person board, is that right?
We do.
13 members on the board.
Yes.
Is that going to be unwieldy?
No.
How come?
I have a 13-member board at my predecessor organization, and it worked out perfectly well.
But they were all from one city.
No, they're from multiple cities. They're from, in our case, it was Markham, Vaughan, and Barrie. No municipality had control.
Okay.
And this is a similar situation here. And we were able to do a lot of good things with that governance model.
How many of the 13 members on the board, how many do you think are going to be mayors?
The shareholders agreement allows for up to 6.
Up to 6.
Yeah, with a majority independent board.
Mayors are pretty busy. Do you think they'll be able to have the adequate focus on this company?
I think these mayors are very dedicated to this organization.
Now, I gather right now you have, is it 3 different headquarters at the moment?
We have 3, yes.
Okay. How do you, I mean, I remember this when they tried to do this with City Hall, right? I mean, you got a City Hall in Scarborough, a City Hall in Etobicoke,
Yes.
Try to bring them all together. What happens to the former headquarters of all those local companies now that they're all merged into one company?
We're going to have a head office in the city of Mississauga, and the LDC operations will be headquartered in Hamilton. And then our whole innovation and sustainability arm will be in the city of Vaughan.
So different missions for different headquarters.
That's right.
Okay.
Exactly.
What do you worry about that could go wrong at this point?
The biggest thing for us is when you're bringing organizations of this size together, you have to get the culture right. You have to get people understanding what the business model is, what the goal of the organization is, and how they fit into that. And if we have alignment of our organization, I think we're in an exceptional position to really create value, and not only for our shareholders, but our customers.
So as you say to these disparate companies that are now all part of one, and potentially to the others that you will purchase along the way, when you want to make the elevator pitch to them about why Alectra is a good place to be, what's the mission statement?
First of all, we got the right people. We've got a great leadership team. We have strong, I believe, strong board, community support, and we're exceptionally well positioned in our service area. A lot of organic growth in a high-density urban environment. We have a culture of innovation. We have a culture of customer focus. We can build on that. We can be a very strong player in the power and utility sector in Canada.
Hydro One's got an ombudsman. Are you going to have an ombudsman to take complaints from the public?
We likely will. We haven't crossed that bridge yet, but it's something we'll definitely look at.
You're still fairly new, aren't you? I mean, technically, you're not even there yet, right? You're still a few days away from acquiring Brampton One.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, the end of this month.
End of February.
Yes.
This all finally happens.
That's right.
Are you a little bit scared?
I approach it with cautious trepidation, but a lot of optimism.
Good enough.
Yes.
Brian Bentz, President, CEO, Alectra. Good of you to visit us at TVO tonight. Thanks so much.
Thanks so much, Steve.